Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's Continental League showdown between the Mountain Vista Golden Eagles of Highlands Ranch, Colorado, and your Regis Jesuit Raiders tonight at Lou Kellogg Stadium. It's a Week 8 matchup between the Raiders, who come into this game at 3-4, and Mountain Vista also coming into this game at 3-4, coming off 2 victories. The Shocker 2 weeks ago, knocking off then number 1 Chaparral at Chaparral, Stephen. That game surprised everyone. And tonight, I'm Jake Leonard, and I'm here with Steven Snyder, my man as always. Producer, our normal guy, Tommy Raines, back in the circuit. And our cameraman, I believe, is Jorge
Palacios Jr.
Jorge Palacios Jr., and we're very grateful for him to help us. Thank you, Jorge. We're looking forward to a tremendous broadcast tonight. Steven, a pretty interesting theme that I think we both really took to heart tonight. The student section and the Rowdies organized Yacht Club night. We've got our sweaters on around our shoulders. I think we both look very classy.
I love it, Jake, and I love theme games. It really allows a crowd to get into it for those who might not really be into football, and it brings out a larger crowd. So I like the idea by Regis here tonight. And really, Jake, I feel like the Raiders coming in tonight have some great momentum. Played a great game at Chaparral last week, which I actually went to last night when Chaparral played Thunder Ridge. And Thunder Ridge actually held them on a 4th and I don't remember quite what it was, but they held Chaparral. I think it was like a 4th and 20 after a penalty, but they held them for 4 consecutive plays inside their goal line for scoring position to close it out. So 2 great teams there. So I think the Raiders lost last week only by a touchdown. I feel like they still have momentum coming off that.
And, Steven, I think one thing that we failed to mention enough is how good the Continental League really is, and that's the league that the Raiders are in this year. The other 5 teams in the league, Stephen, are all very formidable. I mean, you've got Thunder Ridge and Chaparral, which are arguably the 2 best teams in the state. So Mountain Vista's record can be deceiving from the team that they actually are.
Very, indeed, indeed, Jake. And actually, I believe with last night's outcome with Thunder Ridge beating Chaparral, I believe Arapahoe High School actually takes over the number 1 slot in the state after beating Mullen and several other formidable teams. So we'll see here. You haven't heard that in a long time. I remember a couple years ago I was going to Arapahoe games, and it was like watching JV play a varsity. So kudos to them over there at Arapahoe. And really their standings this year have been shaken up. It's kind of been like every team's been losing.
Indeed, Stephen. I don't think there are very many teams at all right at this stage in the college football or in the high school football season that have a loss, and I believe everyone in the top 10 has lost a game. But tonight, Stephen, I'd like to talk about the quarterback for Mountain Vista, Ryan Rubley. Let's see where he is. Rubley, number 12, committed to the University of Tulsa, which is a Division I football team. So a very good quarterback. He's a great scrambler. I actually know him. He was in my confirmation class at our local parish. I live right by Mountain Vista, so, I'm great for him, and he's a tough guy.
Indeed, Jake, and Tulsa, a great football school.
Michael Klein to kick off on the Eagle 40. Interesting kick. Bounces on the 20 and bounces out of bounds. Klein cannot be happy about that. Quick tangent, Stephen, about Michael Klein. Tremendous athlete, actually committed to the University of Nebraska to play baseball.
Wow, Jake, tremendous athlete there. That kick obviously went awry. It was kind of spinning like a top when it hit the ground there, which isn't end over end or the spiral that you get with punts or kickoffs. So he really must have missed that one because Regis doesn't have a dangerous returner they need to watch out for.
Right, you are, Stephen. So Regis Jesuit will take the ball on the own 35-yard line. A.J. Shaw in motion. Hotaling's going to hand it off up the middle. I believe that was to Jalen Williams. I'm not positive, but Jalen is met in the backfield for a 1-yard loss.
And, Jake, if you're the Raiders, you can't be taking that. You have to be getting 2 or 3 yard gains and just chip away at it. That is Raider football. Just put your head down and get those yards. So if you're the Raiders, their O-line has been mediocre up to this point, but they need to outperform themselves tonight.
Hotaling has 4 wide receivers. Now A.J. Shaw going from left to right, and he's going to fake hand it off. He's scrambling out to the left, going to throw it to Robert Orban, who great location on that pass. That's a first down for the Raiders. 1st and 10 on Matt Hotaling's completion, a dart to number 19 tight end Robert Orban.
And Jake, on that, really surprising. Robert Orban been getting his hands back lately, and Matt Hotelling getting his throwing motion, so it's great to see that hookup.
Hotelling now has twin receivers on the left, and John Schmidt is in motion, and John Schmidt will take the ball. He's got some room on the right side, and he looks to have enough for a first down, so it'll be 1st and 10 for the Raiders on the Mountain Vista 44-yard line.
And Jake, Matt Schmidt must have went home John Schmidt, must have went home and watched my broadcast. I was complaining about him running laterally, and there he had two options and decided to run down the field and picked up first down. So great to see John Schmidt making those adjustments.
And a very successful run play on the outside for the Raiders. Two receivers now for Hotelling, and he's going to fake hand it off again. Looking down the field deep. That's number 80, Alex Mitchell, and he sails over the head of Alex Mitchell. Mitchell was wide open on that, Steven, and you just got to think eventually we're going to complete one of these bombs.
Definitely, Jake, and looks like that'll be 2nd and 10 for the Raiders. So we'll see here. Really, Alex Mitchell didn't look like he was running the same route that Hotelling threw to. Hotelling threw a go, and Mitchell was running a slant.
Yeah, there definitely looked to be some miscommunication between Alex and Matt on that throw. It'll be 2nd and 10 now. Mountain Vista in a kind of a 3-4, and he's going to hand it up the middle to Trevor Williams, who will pound ahead for 2 yards to make it 3rd down and 8 for the Raiders. Steven, do you expect a pass here?
I think if you're the Raiders, you have to pass here. You don't. Everybody in the Continental League and perhaps the state of Colorado knows you're a running team now, that you try to run the ball. So I think you have to pass here and try to catch him off guard.
3rd and 8, Hotelling. He's dropping back. He's looking around to the left, and he runs into a sack. That is number 43 for Mountain Vista. 93, Avery Hart, another kid I remember from my middle school days at Mountain Ridge as being an absolute tear. Avery sacks Matt Hotelling, and it's now 4th down and 16. In a punt for Regis is number 88, Sebastian Harris, who's done a pretty good job punting on the season. The Raiders have some men in motion on this punt setup. And a bad snap. Sebastian manages to get control of it, and it's going to be caught around the 20. Oh, that was some Steven, unbelievable. Almost looked like there was some early contact by the Raider defender, but it will be ruled Regis ball.
And Jake, I really think that Mountain Vista, it looked like the blockers thought he was going to let it go, and then he tried to field it there because the Regis defender actually ran back and tomahawked the receiver.
And Mountain Vista coach Rick Cash is livid in disbelief because, Steven, 2 rules were almost violated there by the Raiders. I wasn't sure if the punt returner signaled for a fair catch, which would have made any contact illegal, or even if he didn't signal a fair catch, you still have to give the receiver time. Like, you can't hit him before the ball gets there.
And, Jake, I'm not sure because it was a behind-the-back tomahawk where the ref saw contact, and I think the vaguity of that, you have to just let the play roll.
So the Raiders really get a break there. Matt Hotelling will lead the Raiders out again in an I formation. Alex Mitchell, the lone receiver on the left side. The ball is on the 22-yard line. In motion, A.J. Shaw. Hotelling's going to hand it off. That's Jalen Williams up the middle. Jalen moving his way to the end zone. Touchdown, Raiders. Jalen Williams scrambles his way 22 yards to the end zone, and Regis Jesuit is up 6-0 with still 9:12 remaining in the first quarter, Steven. Very impressive.
And, Jake, very impressive. It looks like Mountain Vista was still kind of griping about that last play and wasn't focusing on playing defense that next play because there were only about 2 solid blocks there. Jalen Williams just ran around the other Mountain Vista defenders, so I don't know if they have a slow defense or they just weren't ready.
And tonight, Harrison Thrasher is injured, so Vince Saban will be kicking extra points as well as kickoffs, and Vince kicks it straight through the uprights. Regis Jesuit up 7-0. So, Steven, what are your keys to tonight's game?
I think for the Raiders, Jake, you got to play Regis Jesuit football, as we saw there. You run, you find a gap. But I think Regis Jesuit football has actually evolved, Jake, to finding your tight ends on short crossing routes. I know they haven't run any of those all season, but with this Mountain Vista defense, these linebackers are run-stopping linebackers. I think you need to put them in coverage and make them challenge. I think for Mountain Vista, it's just stop the Raiders' run game, and on offense, throw it. The Raiders' secondary is weak. I know it. You know it. Those of you who watch us know it. So I think if you're Mountain Vista, you need to throw it with your Division I bound quarterback and just let him do his thing. And option offenses work if the throwing isn't working, so give yourself options if you're Mountain Vista.
And I'd just like to add on to that, Steven, that as always, I think how Matt Hotaling plays tonight for the Raiders on offense will probably be the deciding factor. They don't really need a huge game from Matt, but as long as he doesn't make mistakes, costly mistakes like turnovers, Regis has a very good chance.
And, Jake, also for the Raiders defense, I've been saying it all season, you need that D-line with all that energy to kick in and produce some sacks. So I think if you're the Raiders, you just depend on Antonio Broadus and Eddie Gonzalez to get it done.
Your man, Eddie Gonzalez, and Vince Saban to kick it off from the 40-yard line. I saw Vince before the game, and he was kicking some 45-yard field goals. This kick is a line drive just fielded in front of the goal line, and it's ran back. He'll be tackled inside the 20-yard line. Nice job by Vince. That was number 6, Dylan Formby, also a good baseball player for the Eagles, on the tackle that got tackled.
I was going to say, Jake, did Mountain Vista tackle their own player? No, but really interesting decision by Mountain Vista. That was line drive. That was pegged to go out at the 20. But I guess high school football, Jake, you want to take every chance you can to return it.
Yes, Steven, we see that even in college football. If you take a touchback, you get the ball on the 25, and you'll still have teams running it from 5 yards deep in the end zone. So here is Ryan Rubley. Rubley, he's going to scramble out to the left side, throwing down the field, caught by number 7, Rocco Palumbo, the junior 6'3" wide receiver, a very talented athlete and one of Ryan Rubley's favorite targets.
And, Jake, it almost looked like there was some early motion on the line early on that play that might have thrown Rubley off, but really awkward throwing motion. I don't know if he was just uncomfortable there, if he has a Taylor Martinez-like kink, but that didn't look comfortable at all.
Yes, Stephen, I too saw the almost early line jumping, but no whistle was blown. Trips to the right. Rubley's going to hand it off. That coming along the near side, busting his way for an extra yard, really mowing down a Raider defender, and there's a flag on the play. That's number 34, Tanner Smith.
Sorry, Jake, go ahead.
Tanner, a very strong kid, and it almost looked like he led with his head, and indeed that is the call, a penalty against Mountain Vista. And there's an injured Raider on the turf.
And, Jake, that was the helmet-to-helmet man that got hit. I really find that an interesting call for an offense that gets I know you aren't supposed to lead with your head, but his head really wasn't too far down. And I don't know, Jake. I just find that penalty interesting. It's definitely necessary for safety, but from our view, we got it right in front of us. That was clearly a helmet-to-helmet hit. Nothing else really made contact.
That was a very, very strong effort by Tanner Smith, really spearing his way to try to get some extra yards. And I'm trying to figure out who the injured Raider player is, Steven. I'm actually not sure. Do you know who that is?
I wanted to say Shane Moody at the start because I saw a 6 or an 8 at the end of his number. But I really can't tell right now. We'll see. Here he goes to get up. Yeah, that is Shane Moody, Jake.
Shane Moody, looking very hurt initially, but he's up and walking, so hopefully he'll be okay. And you know, Steven, now he's going to have to sit out for probably a quarter at least while the trainers tend to him. Most likely got a concussion on that big hit. And now here's Rubley in a straight drop. He's trying to get out of the pocket. He's going to dump it off to number 34, who bobbles it and catches it, but it was actually a loss of a couple by catching that.
And Jake, Eddie Gonzalez getting in there, stirring things up, getting his hands up for Rubley. And it's amazing what hands up can do for a quarterback. Looks like that's, Jake, what is that, second and
17. And we'll see now, Steven, how much faith Mountain Vista has in Ryan Rubley. And you see it a lot of times in college where teams get in pretty long down situations and they try to run a draw, maybe not having the confidence that they can convert deep yardage passes. But we'll see now what Ryan Rubley will do here. Three wide receivers. There's a whistle on the play, and it was thrown by the umpire, so that must be delay of game, and it'll move the Eagles back 5 more yards. 2nd and 22 now.
Wow, Jake. I think now it doesn't matter how much or little faith you have in Ryan Rubley. I think you have to throw here if you're Mountain Vista, because a run here, even if it produces a decent gain of 5 or 6 yards, is still too long.
2nd down and 22. Rubley scrambling out. Nope, and he's going to do the draw, and that's to number 4. Manages to evade a couple tackles. Oh, excuse me. Once again, Tanner Smith on the carry. It'll still be 3rd and a mile. 7:39 left to go in the first quarter. 3rd down and 19 for Mountain Vista. Almost a definite passing situation here unless Mountain Vista wants to try another draw.
And, Jake, on the field, I'm counting off the chains. It looks like 3rd and 21, actually. But once you get to that distance, I mean, does it really matter? You've got to go a long ways, and I think that's all Mountain Vista needs to know. I'm really surprised they made that call with Regis's front 4 for a draw play, because Regis's front 4 are always looking out for that.
Rubley going to step up into the pocket, and he gets tackled. That is a sack. That's Antonio Broadus sacking Ryan Rubley. Beautiful job by the Raider defense to hold the Eagles to nothing, and Mountain Vista will be forced to punt. Punting today is number 3, Brandon Kearney.
And there it is, Jake. Antonio Broadus mixing it up. So Regis looks like they're going to get pretty good field position unless their punter turns out to just be man with a cannon for a leg.
Kearney did a good job fielding that high snap, and it's going to take a bounce. Fielded by Alex Mitchell, who drops it. The ball's on the ground, and it looks like Alex recovered it, but very dangerous on that one. And we almost saw 2 changes of possessions on punts.
So, Jake, I don't know if it's the weather out there or the awkward kicks that have been put up. Obviously, the Mountain Vista players tomahawked, but we actually have only seen 1 fielded kickoff, and that was Vince Saban, or kick at all. That was Vince Saban's kickoff, which was not an easy kick to field. So I don't know if both these guys are trusting that the cold weather is going to screw up the other team's hands or what, but so far it's working.
And it'll be 1st and 10 for the Raiders on their own 39. Handoff up the middle, Jalen Williams. Nice cut by Jalen, and he will get 5 yards to make it 2nd down and 5.
So, Jake, I think if you're the Raiders here, you can keep running it. 5 yards in 2 plays is not hard for the Raiders. You don't have to put Matt Hotelling in pressure situations, and that's where Matt Hotelling does not thrive. He does not have that factor that makes him thrive in pressure situations, and I'm like that, Jake. I like it when I can just do my own thing, and that's where I thrive as he thrives.
Just under 6 minutes to go in the first half. Hotelling's going to dump it off to A.J. Shaw, who has it tipped up in the air, but he cannot come down with it. It'll be 3rd down and 4 now for the Raiders.
That hit him in the palms, Jake. You got to come down with that if you're Shaw. There's no excuses for that one. So it was a great route. The coverage was very weak. You got to make that catch if you're Shaw.
So here's Hotelling now in 3rd and 4, I formation. Williams receives the handoff. He's going to cut it upfield, and he's going to have enough for a 1st down over the 50-yard line, taking it into Golden Eagle territory, and that'll move the chains for the Raiders.
And, Jake, that's a good way to get your head down and make your hit because he lowered his shoulder pad with it. And that's the way to get power without getting a spearing penalty. Great form there by Jalen Williams and great fundamental running.
So 1st and 10, Hotelling, 2 receivers right. Now 2 men in motion, Orban and Shaw. It's going to be a pitch. That's Trevor Williams, and Trevor gets what looks to be around 3 or 4 yards on the pitch right. 2nd down and 7.
Jake, I think if you're the Raiders here, you run. Hotelling, he's looked decent with his passing, but he hasn't looked as comfortable as he was in the past 2 weeks to open the game. So I think you maybe warm him up slightly through the first half, but I think you got to run here if you're the Raiders.
So Matt Hotelling under center once again, barking out some audibles to his line and receivers. He's going to hand it off up the middle. And Trevor Williams stays on his feet and rides the wave that is his line. Getting very close to the sticks. Looks to be about 3rd and 2.
Trevor the tow truck, Jake, just pulling along Mountain Vista players with him and just rumbling and stumbling over for that 3rd and 2. So great power running by Trevor Williams, and that's the running back he's developing into. It's a second push running back.
Those are the running backs, Steven, that are really so valuable in college and in the professional realm. Hotaling's going to look deep down the field to Robert Orban, who catches it, but he does not catch it, but twin flags fly. That will be pass interference on number 6 for the Golden Eagles, Dylan Formby, for obviously interfering with Orban before the ball got to him.
And, Jake, this is where I like it, the NFL's rule over college rules. In high school and the college realm, pass interference is 15 yards, where clearly Robert Orban would have had a 40-yard play there. So that's one place I think
you mean in the NFL it's a spot penalty.
In the NFL it's a spot penalty. Did I say the opposite? I'm sorry, Jake. But, yeah, I think that needs to be a spot of the ball because Robert Orban could have had a touchdown there.
Pass interference, Steven, we see it every day on TV. Probably one of the toughest penalties and most game-changing. If you talk about a team getting 4 more downs, if it's 4th down, can be crucial. And if it occurs in the end zone, you get it on the 2-yard line. So 1st and 10 for the Raiders. On their Mountain Vista 26, Hotaling's hand it off to Schmidt, who finds a lane on the outside, and he'll cut inside the 20. I think I saw a flag. There is a flag on the 25-yard line.
Looks like it's going to be holding.
So that looks to move the Raiders back 10 yards, and the big gain goes for naught. And we are now at the 4-minute mark in the first quarter. Regis up 7-0 on Jalen Williams, 22-yard scamper. And Hotaling now receiving signals from the sideline. Elliot DeJour will sub out, and A.J. Shaw will go in. John Schmidt moving over to the right side of the field. Alex Mitchell on the left. Mountain Vista in a 4-3. Hotaling dropping back. He's looking deep down the right sideline. He's got a man in the end zone. And it falls incomplete. No flag. Intended receiver number 4, John Schmidt. Steven, did you see any pass interference on that one?
I didn't, Jake. I think John just jumped a little early. Eagles with good enough coverage. I wouldn't call it good coverage. Schmidt was limping in the end zone, and as he runs, he seems to have a little hobble. Hope everything's all right there.
John Schmidt, so crucial to this Raider offense. He's caught, I believe, a majority of the touchdown passes that have been thrown. Hotaling's now going to scramble out to the left. He's looking, and it falls incomplete to Elliot DeJour. He had Elliot there coming back on the hook, but he misfires, and it will now be 3rd down and 20.
That, Jake, Screaming Falcon, one of the Raiders' go-to plays. Hotaling didn't look as comfortable. He looked a little rushed there. So I think the coaches need to pull Hotaling aside after this drive and say, calm down, you're doing fine, we have the lead, and play your game. Because he looks like he's trying to almost beat the clock because the Raiders have had clock trouble in the last couple games.
So now it's 3rd and 20. We'll see if Hotaling can come up big. He's going to drop back. No, it's going to be a handoff. And the handoff to Jalen Williams is snuffed for a big loss. So clearly Mark Nolan trying to get some positive yards on that, which I can see. 3rd and 20, very hard to convert on. But now it'll be 4th and 24, almost a certain punt situation for Regis.
Definitely, Jake. Vince Saban is good, but he's not that good, I don't think. That'd be 56 on my count, and that's difficult for most pro kickers. So Regis will probably punt here. We'll see if Sebastian, one of the best coffin corner punters there is in the state, so we'll see if he can work his magic.
And remember, Steven, from what it looks like here, Nolan's going to take a delay a game penalty to give Sebastian some more space, which is smart. You see that a lot. And really, I'll say it again, we have not seen a fake punt yet this year. And I'm just waiting for it. I don't think it's going to happen on this play.
I don't know with a 4th and 25 if you should run a fake punt.
Yeah, and with that 5 yards, it's now 4th and 29. Sebastian standing on the Regis Jesuit 44, and a much better punt. It'll go to the sideline. I take that back. It kind of curved left. Didn't really go down far on the field, and it actually didn't even go inside the 20-yard line. So a disappointing kick for Sebastian, and Mountain Vista will set up shop for its second drive of the evening on what looks to be the 24-yard line.
And that's got to be disheartening if you're the Raiders, Jake. The chains moved about a yard. I know they're now going the other way, so in essence they moved about 10 yards, but that's always disheartening.
Completely, Steven. When you can only punt for that much of a gain, that's a real bummer. And Rubley hands it off to Tanner Smith, who gets a minimal gain. Looks to be 2nd down and 9. And tonight, Steven, Mountain Vista wearing the pink tape in honor of breast cancer awareness. It's a good touch, I think.
I love it, Jake, and I love when teams add little things like that to the game to show they're thinking about it.
We could do something with, like, pink jerseys. I mean, you combine our two colors.
Well, we'll see if the Raiders do that. But, Jake, this is high school. I mean, funding's not unlimited.
Even for Regis, we do have constraints, and now it's the Raiders will line up in a 3-4 defense, and Rubley will look to the left. Pass is complete on the outside to number 7, Rocco Palumbo again, and Shane Moody on the tackle. Shane back in the game, cleared by the trainers, and it will now be 3rd down and 3.
And, Jake, that's always good. They must have evaluated him about halfway through the concussion evaluation, realized he's completely fine because the second half is only if you're unsure, which those can usually take a quarter. So great to see him back out there and healthy.
We're at 1:36 to go in the first quarter. Mountain Vista in an I formation is going to be handed off up the middle to Tanner Smith, who has enough for a Golden Eagle first down out to Mountain Vista's own 39-yard line.
I think the Raiders front four, other than that play, Jake, has been performing magnificently tonight. So I think little runs like that, not really a problem for them. We'll see here what the Raiders front four can do as we progress almost into Raider territory.
See, and this Golden Eagle team is a very dangerous offense, putting up 38 points against the Wolverines. And there's going to be a double pass, and, oh, man, beautifully executed to number 7, Rocco Palumbo, from number 3, Brendan Kearney. And, Steve, I saw that one coming. He threw behind the line of scrimmage. You know, when you throw backwards, you got to keep all the receivers covered. Mountain Vista uses some trickery to get his first points of the night.
Some serious trickeration there, Jake. You can tell they know exactly what pass is coming there, and absolutely fantastically run. I'm in awe, Jake. That was fantastic.
A really pretty pass there from number 3, Brandon Kearney. Had a tight spiral, low to the ground, got to Rocco Palumbo in stride. And Michael Klein's on to kick the extra point. That touchdown scores with 1:06 remaining on the clock. Klein's extra point is up and good. Another note, Michael Klein's father actually kicked at the University of Nebraska, so he certainly has the genes to be a good athlete.
And Jake, Brendan Kearney on that pass, absolutely fantastic job of he literally just rattled his feet a couple times to keep the Regis defenders frozen. So I think if you're Regis, you just need to hop on the ball carrier as fast as you can next time rather than going for a sure tackle. I mean, if you go fundamental tackling and you go cheek to cheek, you're going to at least make him stumble and allow time for another defender to get there. So I think hesitation by Regis contributed to that play.
And as it stands now, it is 7-7. Mountain Vista will be kicking off to the Raiders. Not a huge student turnout tonight. I'm a little surprised, actually, Steven. It looks like only about a half of the student section's filled.
Indeed, Jake, looking a little small, but you never know.
Kudos to the Rowdies for their theme. I mean, great theme. And hopefully everyone will come out next Friday for Halloween. We'll have costumes galore. And Klein ready to kick off now. A much better kick this time for Klein. Fielded in the end zone. That's a touchback in high school. So Regis will start on its own 20-yard line. Really, Stephen, last drive so promising until They got deep into Vista territory. Then they really stalled backwards, losing almost 29 yards in penalties.
And Jake, interesting note about the kick return. Shane Moody was back to return. That's the third one they've used in 3 weeks, including Alex Mitchell and Will Dines. So I don't know if it's a weekly spot they compete for, or Coach Nolan's trying some different stuff out. Just found that interesting.
If I were to guess, Steven, I'd say it's because Alex dropped that last punt. But we'll see if we see Alex later in the game. Punt return. Hotaling's going to scramble out, and he's going to fire down the field, and it's intercepted. I'm going to say that was a great job of number 6, Dylan Formby, reacting, because that ball was zinged. I mean, it did go right at him, but he had no idea that the pass would be going at him because he was trying to move to the right. So he really made an athletic play, getting his hands up quick and catching the football.
I was going to say the exact same thing, Jake. That was absolutely a fantastic interception. And Raiders defense needs to come up big here, Jake, because you can't let them score really quickly back-to-back. That's the most disheartening, is when you go from leading to trailing.
So, again, a really bad mistake by Matt Hotaling. That pass was nowhere near its target. And now Rubley's going to throw a fade down the left side. And it's almost intercepted by Shane Moody, intended receiver, Rocco Palumbo. And really, Stephen, on that, Ryan Rubley showing off his arm.
And Shane Moody, great awareness there on that defense. He took a quick glance back and knew where it was coming. And then when he realized that Palumbo wasn't as close to the ball as he thought he might be, he looked back and tried to make the play in stride, which was key. Great offensive defense there by Palumbo, too, though, to knock it out.
Mount Vista now in an I formation. Rubley's going to hand it off to Tanner Smith, who powers forward for about 3 yards. It'll be 3rd and 8, so maybe a 2-yard gain. Another quick note about Rubley. I actually checked on ESPN, and he's ranked as the number 37th best dual-threat quarterback in the nation, so he can run it. We haven't seen that a lot yet tonight, so we'll see if Mount Vista tries to develop that later.
That's an honor, Jake, to even be on the ESPN website for recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, really amazing. You think of Tulsa, they've had their share of 10-win seasons I can remember. Rubley now going to fire across the field. Nice strike to number 3, Brendan Kearney. And Kearney, the track star that he is, he's extremely fast, and he has enough for a first down.
Alan Campbell kind of froze up there on the Raiders' defense, Jake. He looked like he had a beat on the runner, and then he just kind of stopped and let the runner get the outside lane. So I don't know if the Raiders' awareness seems to be down tonight. I don't know if maybe they had a bigger team dinner than usual and it made them all tired or what, but their awareness seems to be down.
10 seconds left in the first quarter. 1st and 10 from the 16. Handoff up the middle to Tanner Smith. And Tanner Smith will take that down to what looks to be about the 12-yard line. And that'll be the end of the first quarter. Mount Vista ties Regis. It's now 7-7. Any final thoughts about the first quarter, Stephen?
Both teams playing solid football, not extraordinary, but solid. There's aspects shining for both teams, and I think this game might actually come down to special teams, Jake.
We're going to take a quick break here on RJ Live and pick back up for the start of the second quarter. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the start of our second quarter. The Golden Eagles will be going into the student section. They'll have 2nd and 6 from the 11-yard line. 2nd and 6, and Rubley looking to the left side. Quick strike to Brandon Kearney, who will take it inside the 5-yard line. That looks to be enough for a first down for Mountain Vista, and they'll be in business, 1st down and goal.
So, Jake, Regis Jesuit, great goal line defense, but it's all based on awareness, so we'll see if they can hold the Golden Eagles here. I think a field goal here is very successful for the Raiders.
A quick note, actually, Steven, those quick passes that they're throwing to Kearney, who crosses over the middle, those are the passes that I think Regis really needs to start to utilize more. Slants over the middle where people are in stride.
And that was actually my key to the game for the Raiders, Jake. So definitely Coach Nolan maybe needs to pick up a West Coast offense book and just take a little journey through it for about an hour and just see if he can pick up anything. But on another note, Jake, we've seen Matt Hotelling try to make quick decisions when throwing. And, well, that last one was a quick decision while throwing, Jake. It ended up in an interception. So I think you need a more experienced quarterback to do that. Maybe they can try that with Hotelling next year.
Agreed, Steven. And we'll see how effective the Regis students can be in disrupting the Golden Eagle red zone goal line offense here. Rubley has 1st and goal from the 5-yard line. 11:32 left to go in the second quarter. Handoff to Tanner Smith, who pops his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Mountain Vista. The student section silenced. The Golden Eagle faithful are cheering, and just like that, it's 13-7. So that big start for the Raiders really dissipates.
And, Jake, Raiders need to get back into this with a score on this drive. It looks like Mount Vista is a team that once they get up, they can just hold you and just keep you there and slowly run up the scoreboard until time runs out. And Raiders aren't a team that can work with little time. So Raiders really need to respond here quickly and hopefully get even another score. So we'll see what's going on.
And one thing that really, Steven, I don't know if you watched the Oregon-Arizona State game last night, but Arizona State came out to a big stop, and they forced a turnover and then scored on the first play of the game. And then after that, Oregon scored 43 consecutive points. So, really, you can't let that initial score just be the be-all, end-all. You still got to stay motivated.
And I think, Jake, that's maybe where the lack of awareness that I've been mentioning came from, is they got that quick score. So we'll see here. I really think the Raiders need a return, and this kicker from Mount Vista seems a little awry or spot on. So could be good, could be bad here. Can't really pick him out, though, yet, Jake.
That's an interesting point, Steven, because last year, actually, Michael Klein missed several key field goals against Regis when they played at Shea Stadium that actually led the Raiders to win the game. Klein here to kick off from the 40. And a slow line drive kick that will be fielded on several bounces. And for Regis, that is, looks like number 28, Shane Moody, gets popped out of bounds. Regis will set up shop on its own 23-yard line.
So, Jake, I think if you're the Raiders, you come out here, and I know I'm bold, I'm a little out there, but I think if you're the Raiders, you come out here and you go deep to Alex Mitchell, and you give Hotelling some confidence back. I don't think you can risk letting him sit on that interception and think about it the entire game, Jake.
I agree with that, Steven. If you have a quarterbacks really need to have short memories. You can't dwell on mistakes. Hotelling's going to hand it off to Jalen Williams and Mountain Vista, blitzing heavily on that. One thing I think that teams have had success against Regis is when they put tons of pressure up the middle, because Hotelling really struggles with throwing on the run.
And, Jake, they didn't do it last play. I think this is the play that the Raiders need to go deep. They need to go deep to Alex Mitchell. Looks like they're setting up possibly for Screaming Falcon, but they need to go deep here, Jake. That's just my feeling.
2nd down and 7. Under 11 minutes, and it will be a run that the Raiders gain some good yardage on. Looks to be about 3rd down and 2 now. So now a running situation, I'd say, Steven.
I think our running situation is good, but I don't think it's going to win us the game. I love quick strikes to get you back into this game, Jake, and that's why I was begging for a deep ball in those first 2 plays. But here I say you just run it. You got a solid run game. You need the first down. And then I believe the play after that, you need to go deep to Alex Mitchell.
Yeah, Stephen, I'd agree with you that I'd say Alex Mitchell is probably the best threat. And there we go with the quick step. Stephen, that might be the best play that Nolan has drawn up all year, where just the center snaps it to him. Everyone on the line stays still. And are they calling a penalty on this? Because that's not correct. There should not be a penalty. Wow. That's not a false start, Stephen, and I will publicly admit that is objectively a bad call. Only the center and Matt moved on that, which is completely legal. You don't have to move after the ball is snapped.
I completely agree, Jake. I don't agree with that call at all. That's the first time that I've seen the season officials have made a real objective mistake.
It'll be 3rd down and 7. I formation. Hotaling looking to call an audible, looking at the sideline. Pats A.J. Shaw on the shoulder. We'll see what that means. And Nolan will call a timeout.
Jake, I just got word that was actually a procedure penalty, a legal procedure. So I don't know how that quite fits in, but it wasn't a false start. Huh.
I'm not sure what Stephen, I think some referees use the terms false start and illegal procedure as synonyms. I'm not positive about that, but I didn't see any other problem with that formation other than the referees thought it looked odd. So then they thought to themselves, wow, that must be a penalty if it looks weird.
And we've seen Hotaling run that one before, actually. Very successful. I believe it's for a touchdown. About 12-yard touchdown is completely legal. So, see here, Raiders in a real predicament now.
4 wide receivers. Hotaling scrambling out left. Gets outside the pocket, and he'll throw it. Complete. That is on the connection. Number 9, Elliot DeJour, I want to say. Elliott coming back from his injury and snags that one for a first down Raiders. Nice pass. Hotaling really, one of the things about his height, Steven, is that he can't really throw over the middle just because of how short he is. He's listed here on the Regis roster. He's not. They don't even give a height for him.
And Jake.
Handoff here, and that's Trevor Williams. Trevor Williams bouncing the outside with fire. Has enough for a Raider first down into Golden Eagle territory.
And for those of you at home that have been watching, and Jake, you can play along with this too on that pass play right before this with the comeback to DeJour Elliott on the sideline. I'll give you a hint. It started with 2 wide receivers on the left. We're going to play a game. Which pass play did the Raiders run? Was that Screaming Falcon, Eagle? Yeah, that's the only 2 they run.
I think it's Screaming Falcon.
It is indeed, Jake. Eagle starts off with trips, but great play if the Raiders can get it down like that.
Little bits of knowledge from Steven Snyder. You just treasure them. 1st and 10 from the 46. Handoff to Trevor. And Trevor again with a very successful run, Steven. If you were to pick, who do you think's been the more effective runner, Trevor or Jalen?
It depends on what you want, Jake. If you want big plays, just bust open a game, I'm going to go with Jalen. If you want people that drags defensive for extra yards, perhaps like a tow truck, I'd go with Trevor.
I think we can expect great things from this brother duo in upcoming seasons. And the Raiders looking to the sideline confused again. That's one thing, Steven. The offense always seems to be in like a stupor where they're just so slow to get the play started. And now Hotaling's in a drop back. He's looking deep over the middle, this time to John Schmidt. And John Schmidt just has it past his fingertips, falling incomplete. 3rd down and 4.
I like the smart defense there by Tanner Harrison for the Golden Eagles, who just kind of ran back and waited until John Schmidt got his fingers on the ball and then just kind of stood in front of him and let John Schmidt run into him so as to avoid pass interference.
We are at 8 minutes and 19 seconds to go in the first half. 3rd down and 4 on the Mountain Vista 40-yard line. Hotaling's going to hand it off to Jalen Williams, who will not have enough for a first down, but clearly 4-down territory. What do you dial up here, Steven?
Jake, I think, I know you just got penalized for it, but I think you drop that center quarterback movement. That's it, run again. Works so well, and this is definitely the distance for it. So
So it is indeed 4th and 1, and the Raiders do trot their offense back. Big play coming up here. Again, it seems like the offense doesn't know what play they're going to run until they get out there. Hotaling communicating with his line. In motion, Shaw. Hotaling, handoff to Jalen Williams, who has enough for a first down. Nice job, Jalen.
And there we see the Raiders' offensive line at its best. I'm sure in a couple plays we'll probably see them at their worst. They're a very on and off offensive line, but
why would you say that?
Jake, I've been watching all game. It's like a roller coaster ride with these guys, but we'll see if they can outperform themselves tonight. But from what I've seen, that's my guess. I would love to see them prove me wrong.
I'm going to be careful in what I say because, Steven, last week I said Matt Hotaling is playing an awesome game, didn't throw an interception. Right as I said that, he threw an interception. I'm going to take our success with modesty this time. And Jalen Williams has a nice run, very close to the sticks. Looks to be just a yard short, 2nd down and 1. And Steven, really, I'd say this has been a pretty even game as of yet.
I definitely think so, Jake, and I think the Raiders have to be ecstatic about that. I think if you're the Golden Eagles, you're coming out. You've beaten Chaparral. You've had some big games. The Raiders, you're coming off a loss. I think they might have been. Just seems this Golden Eagles team has more cockiness than confidence.
2nd down and 1. In motion, Shaw. Hotaling. Handoff to Trevor Williams, who has enough for a first down inside the 20-yard line of the Eagles, and Regis Jesuit is in the red zone.
And Jake, Raiders, great red zone offense with their running. I think you need to put Trevor in, let him run 2 plays, and then try to break a hole open with Jalen's quick feet and agility. So I imagine we'll see Trevor stay in there just trying to work out some yards the tough, grinded-out way. And definitely the running game I like to see.
1st down and 10, 6 minutes left to go. Handoff to Trevor, and Trevor has another good gain. Looks to get about 5 yards, so it'll be 2nd down and 5.
And Jalen coming on, so they're looking to bust it open a little earlier than maybe I thought. Jalen, also a pretty big guy, so maybe they're thinking he maybe has a little more power here, but Mountain Vista only putting like 4 or 5 in the box, so if you're the Raiders, keep running.
Steven, it looks like they're definitely preparing for maybe a play action or something on the outsides. Regis has not run that lately, but we'll see here. In motion, Shaw, and there's a whistle before the snap gets off. Flag on the play, so the Raiders take too much time getting to the line. That's a delay of game penalty. I don't know about you, Steven, but that's probably my most hated penalty. Those are just completely unacceptable.
Why don't you just tell Trevor to go take a lap around the field, sprint, and come back, and in that time they'll take it down off the clock. That's exactly what they did. Trevor makes a great run, and then they just negate it with completely unexcusable penalties.
So just like that, it's 2nd down and 10. Shaw. Hotaling's going to hand it off to Jalen Williams, who gets some yards initially. Looks to be tackled at the 16. 3rd down and 6. And really, this is the yardage where Regis has struggled so much. 3rd down and medium long.
And, Jake, I believe that's because they don't really have any plays for it. A lot of their pass plays are too long developing. A lot of their run plays too grinded out. So I imagine here we might see perhaps a quick crossing route to Robert Orban, which I would love to see. Please.
Here's Hotaling scrambling out to the right side. Hotaling has nowhere to go, and he gets sacked. Hotaling really looked lost on that, and I don't really think he had a plan, Steven.
He did, Jake, because he never even brought the ball up. He looks for his receivers and waits till they're open before he brings the ball up. And to deliver the ball on time, he already has to have the ball up. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Zach Heath here coming into the game eventually. I think you have to kick this if you're the Raiders. I don't have faith that Hotaling can get this, Jake.
So Regis will send out the offense here on 4th and 11. Very questionable call. Vince is kicking tonight instead of Harrison, and it's complete over the middle. That's to Robert Orban, and it's enough for a first down. Raiders, there's the play we've been saying this offense needs to run 10 times a game. Finally, it works, and the Raiders have a first down and goal.
And after that play, I would like to personally apologize to the future Matt Hotelling, who will be watching this, saying I didn't have faith in him. Thank you for proving me wrong, Matt.
First and goal on the 5, 3:50 to go in the first half. Hotelling hands it off to Jalen. Jalen pounding his way up the middle, just short of the goal line.
So I think this was a great drive by the Raiders, Jake. And this was a Raider drive because if you look at the clock, it's used over 8 minutes, Jake. And that's the characteristics of a Raider drive. There's a lot of run game. There's a lot of grinding it out, and there's a lot of time taken off the clock.
As we say, Steven, very effective when you're ahead. Tough to come back from, though. And Jalen tackled in the backfield on that one, so they'll be right about where they started on first down now, a third down and about 5.5. Really interesting to see what the Raiders will do here.
Jake, I think if you're the Raiders, you run it, and you run it again. 2 run plays. I don't think you can risk a Hotelling goof up at this stage in the game because, Jake, you really need these points. And you need to beat Mountain Vista here, so 2 run plays. I don't think you can risk it on a Hotelling pass.
Timeout on the field called by Regis, so the offense will talk it over. And I know that passing is really the weak spot of this offense, but I feel like this is just a place where you have to pass. Only 6 yards to go into the end zone. You can do some slants. You can do some hooks, button hooks, crosses. Really, just do something to get some initial separation from the wide receivers and the defensive backs.
And, Jake, I think with the Big Ten style of football that we've established the Raiders play, this is clearly a Big Ten style offense. I think you go to the fundamental Big Ten pass play, which is a button hook out on the side. I mean, I don't know if you agree with that, but you see that a lot in the Big Ten is a nice button hook.
Tight ends.
Tight end button hooks, exactly.
So Mountain Vista and Regis will be talking this play over. What do you think Regis will do if they don't convert or gain any yardage on this play?
I would love to see a kick, Jake. You know I love the kick game. But I imagine they should just run the ball twice.
So here come the Raiders. Hotelling. Handoff to Schmidt on the outside. Nice block. 2 crucial blocks. Schmidt very close to the end zone. He's tackled just short. 2 great blocks to give Schmidt a hole. And it'll be 4th and very close to the goal line.
I love seeing that versatility from Jalen Williams, Jake. Absolutely a fantastic block. Looks like the man had a beat on Jalen. Kind of like that Vince Papali play back in his opening game in Dallas where he just got kind of lit up. The exact same thing happened when Jalen Williams blocked that guy. I like to see a Hotelling sneak here.
4th down and 2. 2 yards to go. Handoff to Jalen Williams, and we're waiting for a ruling. It is a touchdown, Regis. The far sideline official rules touchdown, very close, Stephen, but Jalen Williams has just enough to get over the goal line.
And, Jake, I think that play was really a must score. The Raiders getting some wind back in their sails, only giving Mountain Vista 2:03 to work with, which brings that total drive time to, I want to say, 9:31 or more. Really dangerous, Jake. There's a lot of Golden Eagles getting back in the backfield on PATs, so I imagine that's maybe why they went for it on 4th and 11.
That's an interesting observation, Stephen. And one good thing that can happen from controlling the ball so long is you keep the other team's offense off the field a lot. And Mountain Vista will now have 2 minutes and 3 seconds, almost a perfect 2-minute drill setup. We'll see if they try to move the ball down the field or if they play conservative and take a 14-14 game into halftime. But I think a lot of it depends on this kick. And really, Stephen, a pretty solid half of football so far for Regis. Again, if you cut down those mistakes, it's 14-7.
And, Jake, unfortunately, you can't cut down on those mistakes. Raiders are really a mistake-prone football team. And hopefully they come out in the second half after this drive and don't shoot themselves in the foot like they have in some past games.
Vince Saban to kick off from the 40. A pretty good kickoff on the right side. It'll go into the end zone for a touchback. Good job for Vince. Mount Vista. We'll see how Ryan and Rubley will do here with just over 2 minutes to go in the half.
Jake, I think this is where you're going to see the dual threat. He'll probably make a couple of scrambling runs out of bounds for 8 or 9 yards, possibly more. So I think this is where Rubley's dual threat needs to shine.
And Mountain Vista lining up with 3 wide receivers. Rubley under center, pointing out some blocking schemes. Rubley dropping back. He's looking over the middle, and that falls over the head of the intended receiver. That's number 81, Chris Hill.
That looked like a pre-planned play, Jake, because most quarterbacks don't decidedly throw into 4-man coverage over the middle. There are 4 Regis defenders on that Mount Vista receiver, so it looked like they had established before the play he was throwing to him. And I'm not a fan of that. I like to let the quarterbacks make their own decisions. I know sometimes it can hurt you in the case of quarterbacks like Matt Hotelling, but I feel like you need to let your team control the game.
Rubley now is going to hand it off to Tanner Smith, who cuts over the 35-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 4, it looks. But, Stephen, I want to talk about your previous point. I feel like that's one of the big things that separates the good quarterbacks from the quarterbacks that play at the next level. Can you make decisions for yourself? Regardless of your actual ability to complete the passes, can you make the decisions? And here, Mountain Vista will be stopped in the backfield. 4th down.
I think Regis needs to call a timeout here, Jake. Give yourself a chance. Coach Nolan doesn't even have his headset on, so.
So the Raiders will opt to not call timeout. Looks like they're going to just try to take this into halftime.
That is Coach Nolan-style football, Jake. But I think you should at least give yourself a chance because you do have the ability with that much time left if you call a timeout to still run out the clock if necessary.
If you remember the old Jim Tressel ball, just football that was almost miserable to watch because of how conservative it was, very similar to how the Raiders time manage. And here's the punt for Mountain Vista. It's a much better punt than the first one. It'll go out of bounds, actually. So, again, I kind of spoke too soon. Regis will get the ball on the 50-yard line, and now almost looking foolish that they let 40 seconds run off the clock.
Exactly, Jake, and I think this is where we'll probably see Vince Saban coming into the game. So really, Jake, I like the way the Raiders played this first half. They really stuck to their guns and played their style of football. They played football that is just hard-nosed, grinded out, and that's what you need to do to this Mount Vista team. They're a good fundamental team, but doesn't seem like they have the toughness to run a full, grinded-out game. So I think the Raiders really have potential to come out in the second half and win this.
I believe that Regis Jesuit has 2 timeouts left in the half, so with 40 seconds left, perhaps the offense can get into field goal range. Matt Hotelling out, barking out audibles. And once again, the team is pegged for delay a game. Coach McPhee really unpleased with Matt Hotelling's time management on that, trying to call some audibles, but took way too much time. And now there's a whistle from the official, but that's, the 3rd delay game penalty we've seen the Raiders commit?
Jake, they were doing so well in the past couple weeks to not commit these penalties, and all of a sudden they're committing them again, including that illegal procedure / false start penalty, which, it looks like there's a clock malfunction. It's not a delay game.
No, it is, Steven, because they're 5 yards back. And
it is. Huh.
Hotelling getting to the line quickly now. He's going to hand it off. So a decent run, but still they're behind where they initially would have started. These penalties, you just can't commit if you're a Regis-style offense that doesn't have a lot of big play potential.
I love how they're hurrying up now, Jake. They didn't call the timeout on the punt. Now they're in a hurry up.
Hotelling looking down the field, and it is incomplete on the sideline to Elliot DeJour. And Steven, you know my opinion about those passes. I think they're just so low percentage. It involves the receiver having to tiptoe the sideline, and the throw has to be on the money because all his momentum's taking him out of bounds.
If you're Coach Nolan Jake here, I think you take a knee and go into the locker room. Don't risk it.
That is the first time you've said that for the Raiders to take a conservative course of action all year. I don't blame you. I think bad things can happen here. 3rd down and 12. Trips right. Hotelling, he's looking deep down the left sideline, and he completely overthrew Alex Mitchell. Matt Hotelling really struggling with his accuracy and where he's trying to land the deep ball because, again, Alex was wide open.
And now, Jake, you give Mountain Vista a chance. There is 12 seconds, so after a return, you give Mountain Vista a chance, and if they've been watching their film, they will have seen that the Raiders got burnt on a Hail Mary deep in the game in the first half last time. I'm sure you remember that one.
Really interesting clock management, again, for Regis. Sebastian out to punt now. 12 seconds left on the clock. Sebastian standing on the Regis Jesuit own 30-yard line. Mount Vista setting up a punt return and fielded at the 20. That is Dylan Formby, who makes a couple men miss at the end of the first half, 14-14. And any final thoughts of the first half?
Well, first of all, Jake, I would like to comment. That is the first good snap we've seen of Sebastian Harris punting all year. So I'd like to commend them for that. Jake, I think you go into the locker room, and if you're the coaches, you say keep your nerves. You say do your thing, and you just let it roll. If you're Mountain Vista, you tell your guys to toughen up. You tell them to get a little dirtier and go out there and win this game. Both teams have potential to win this game. Both teams have the potential to throw it away. So we'll see here what happens in the second half. Yeah, Jake.
We're going to hand it off now to Andrew Reel and Joe Quigley doing the Raider recap. So after a quick break, we'll get you guys set up for the best halftime show in high school football.
Ole, 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 Regis fans. How are you doing tonight? Up in the booth, Andrew Reel, Joe Quigley, Captain Falcon Matthews, halftime show, Raider recap. Joe, what do you think of this game so far?
Phenomenal game. Absolutely phenomenal. It's deadlock right now, 14-14. I feel like both teams are playing well and have room to improve on some little fundamental things, but it's been great football tonight, Andrew.
That they do, Joe. That they do. It's definitely a defensive battle here at Luke Kellogg Stadium. And you might notice that we have a guest with us tonight. We have Captain Falcon Matthews, a transfer from Bishop Gorman, here to talk with us. Falcon, what do you think of this game?
Yeah, it's thank you, Andrew. It's been quite a tight contest in this first half. Not much separating the two teams. It's going to be a good second half, and hopefully our Raiders will get up on top.
Well said, Alan. Well said. Great to hear from you as always. So, Joe, what have you noticed in this contest so far?
So far, I've noticed that both teams really need to control the ground if they want to win this game. Running the ball is crucial in high school football, and if either team wants to win this game, whoever gets control of the ground first is going to win it.
Ooh, right you are, Joe Quigley. Right you are. Ground control is key in this game, and so far both teams are doing a pretty decent job on the ground game, and that's definitely going to remain to be a key factor in the second half. But personally, I think the X factor is going to be which team can get their passing attack down in this second half, and that's the team I think is going to walk away with the victory today.
And the Y factor, if you will, Andrew. They need to work on their little fundamentals. Regis muffed a punt in the first quarter, so they can't be making little mistakes like that.
Well, it should also be noted that Mountain Vista muffed that very first punt, just took a crushing blow there at the 20-yard line. Regis Raiders recovered it, came in with some momentum, scored that touchdown, but unfortunately, for most of the first quarter, they just couldn't keep that momentum going.
Absolutely, and I like how Matt Hoteling's playing tonight. You know, he hasn't thrown too many interceptions, only one or two. He's looking a lot more comfortable back there, even against this really strong blitzing Mountain Vista defense and linebackers.
Yeah, these Mountain Vista middle linebackers especially love to fill holes, and they love to fill them hard. That's probably where the main strength of their defense is at those two middle linebackers, and they're going to try and keep wreaking some havoc on this Regis offensive line and try and stone those running backs right at the line of scrimmage.
I also like how the Regis offensive line has responded. They're not used to seeing a 4-3 blitzing defense as heavy as Mountain Vista is, but I feel like they're doing a good job getting their assignments, making the big plays, and protecting their quarterback.
That's true. Except for the sack that they gave up early in the game, the Regis offensive line has been doing great tonight. And one thing that should be noted about this Mountain Vista team is that they definitely play both a big-style offense and defense. So, I mean, that's some very hard-nosed, tough, grind-it-out kind of football. And I think that's something the Raiders need to be exposed to and something that will make them stronger going into the rest of the season.
Absolutely. They're big offense right there. You see a lot of tight end button hooks out there, and when that's run effectively, when there's a lot of chemistry between quarterback and receiver, it can be deadly because that's 8 or 9 guaranteed yards each time if you're good at it.
Yeah, those button hook routes are definitely just getting right under the coverage, and they are making those connecting passes, like you said, getting that chemistry going, and that is going to be huge coming into the second half, and Mountain Vista can continue that.
Absolutely, and on their defensive side, the Big Ten style, it's all about just getting to the quarterback, pressuring him, making him make bad decisions. And you saw him make one bad decision where he threw an interception, but he seems to be doing a pretty good job other than that one tonight.
Yeah, to me it looks like Matt Hoteling is beginning to overthrow his receivers a little bit, which is just something he needs to settle into, get more comfortable, get some more confidence in the pocket, and make those things happen.
Let's keep in mind, he is a sophomore, first year on varsity. He's only overthrown his receivers by like 2 or 3 feet. I feel like he can even hone that in just for the second half, let alone the rest of the season.
I agree with you, Joe. And one thing that should be kept in mind is there is a lot of young kids starting on this Regis Raider football team. We can't state that enough. So, folks, right now you're looking at the future of Regis Jesuit football right here. And speaking of Regis Jesuit football, future, past, and present, we got a past great here in the audience tonight. Austin Brendel out there, one of the great receivers we had. Brother Davis was a great quarterback. He's out there just on the field talking to the coaches, having a good time coming back to the place he loved.
You love seeing alumni come back and just show their support for their school. It shows that even when you graduate, it's still a place you can call home. A lot of our alumni absolutely love this school, and we love them back. We love seeing them here.
Yeah, we do love seeing him here, and it's nice to see him come back, and it's nice to see him have a good time. So that will do it for the Raider recap at this halftime. Coming back next week, we will have another halftime show, and look forward to the second half with Jake and Steven. I'm Andrew Reel.
I'm Joe Quigley. We'll see you next week for the last home game of the season.
So long, folks.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Lou Kellogg Stadium for the start of our second half. Regis Jesuit tied 14-14 with Mountain Vista. Regis Jesuit scored first with a 22-yard run by Jalen Williams. Mountain Vista quickly struck back with about a 40-yard trick pass play. It was a lateral to Brendan Kearney, who threw a beautiful pass to Rocco Palumbo for a touchdown. Then Mountain Vista capitalized off a Matt Hotelling interception. On the run, I believe that was Tanner Smith. And Regis Jesuit, at the end of the second half, scores a touchdown and a kick. We're very close to going out of bounds, but it actually worked out beautifully for the Raiders because it kind of bounced in limbo, and Mountain Vista will start in its own 10-yard line.
And Jake, great. Lucky, but also great kick from Vince Saban there because it didn't look like it had the trajectory to go out of bounds. So, lucky breaks like that can turn a game around. We'll see if the Raiders can come out. Jake, this time around for the Raiders, I'm looking for energy and awareness. That's the only thing they really need to improve on. Their play was good other than a couple of mistakes. And looking back to get back to fundamental discipline football, as Raiders have worked so hard to reach this year.
Mountain Vista will start this drive on their own 10-yard line. Ryan Rubley in an I formation. Rubley's going to play action to the left side, and he's throwing complete to number 81, his tight end, Chris Hill. And that's a first down for Mountain Vista. Pretty pass by Rubley.
I don't know if Rubley is scared of the Raiders' linebacking core. Maybe Quinn Vandekoppel with his hard-hitting ways, but that was a perfect place for Rubley to run if he was going to do it. So I don't know if he's just choosing to be a single-threat quarterback tonight because he wants to or what, but that was the place he should have run, I think.
Mountain Vista with the ball now on their own 29-yard line. They'll do a pitch to the outside and get maybe 1 yard. Second down and 9.
So, Jake, I imagine if you're Mountain Vista here, you do another rolling out pass, and you send a guy on a go route. Actually, I'd say you send two guys, one on a go route on the outside and one on a slant across the middle, and then you give Rubley the option to run too, but just my opinion.
If it's your opinion, Steven, I think Mountain Vista should listen to it because I agree with you on that one. And this is a prime opportunity for a pass, and indeed they will pass. Rubley scrambling out, and now he's going to throw downfield to number 81, and it's caught by Chris Hill. Unbelievable pitch and catch. Chris Hill catching it in stride, and the Raiders secondary just completely gashed. Ryan Rubley reminding everyone why he is a commit to the University of Tulsa, firing a dart that hit Chris Hill in stride. Chris Hill very fast, and he takes it to the house. Vista gashes the Raiders secondary. It's now 20-14. And, Steven, that was a pro pass.
We apologize to you folks. I believe I just got word the cameraman missed that one. But, so we apologize. It was a great catching coverage. Wow, Jake. I don't know if the coverage was poor, the catch was great, or a combination of both because it seemed to I don't know. Daniel Talley looked to give up on that, Jake. That's just me. He looked to give up on the coverage there.
And Klein's kick is up and good. So I guess if we miss that last one, I can try to give you a summary of it. Rubley scrambled out to the left side and kind of stutter stepped for a bit to give Chris Hill some time to gain separation from Shane Moody. Then he fired a dart that Chris Hill caught with his hand stretched out in stride. And after that, the Raiders had no chance. A beautiful strike. And how demoralizing is that, Steven, to come out, you think you've made some good halftime adjustments, and give up that?
I think, Jake, the most demoralizing thing is the fact that he caught it in two-man coverage. Daniel Talley and Quinn Vandekoppel back there. Granted, Quinn is a linebacker, but I think that's more demoralizing than the fact of the timing and the placement because this Regis secondary has been outperforming what it normally does this game and then came right back out and said, well, hold on a second, we aren't that good. So, really unfortunate there.
The Golden Eagles to kick off, Michael Klein. And this kick will go into the end zone for a touchback. We'll see if Matt Hotelling trots out again or if the Raiders want to try a new quarterback. And honestly, Steven, I think maybe the most disappointing part of the season is every game we don't know if there's going to be the same quarterback coming out.
And, Jake, I think the most disappointing part about that, looks like Zach, he still has his hat on, so we should see Hotaling. And there he comes. But is that Zach Heath, the only reason he's really not playing is because he can't catch a snap. So it's really unfortunate there, Jake. At least that's what I've got from the inside track from my managers down on the football field. So
That's very disappointing if it's true, Steven. Hoteling's going to hand it off to John Schmidt, who takes it around the left side and gains some good yardage. Schmidt really has been effective on those outside handoffs, I'd say, most of the time. The danger of those, Steven, is if you get outside penetration, then you're pretty much done for. It's going to be a loss.
And I think, Jake, that's also I think you've got to give props to Robert Orban and the Regis offensive line for making some great blocks for him, and Jalen Williams, the running back, for making some great blocks for him. So Orban and Williams really making those plays possible.
4 receivers for the Raiders. Now Shaw becoming a tight end. It's going to be a handoff up the middle to Jalen Williams, who has enough for a Regis Jesuit first down. And, Steven, I think the Raider offense can't afford to have any stalled drives because the way Regis chews up the clock, every drive is crucial.
And, Jake, Jalen Williams down. Really dangerous for the Raiders. Right now, sitting on the sidelines on either crutches or an injury like Walker or Scooter are Chase Bertinelli, Chuk Obana, and Grant Neal, their first 3 running backs. If you lose your 4th-string running back, Jake, I don't know what your team does. They do still have Trevor, but to play in the playoffs with a 5th-string running back would be absolutely amazing. I really hope they don't have to come out with that story, though.
You know what team would be fine if they lost every single running back?
My fantasy football team, Jake.
Texas Tech. That's the problem, really, Steven, with this total ground game is that there's no passing game. And that's why, air raid offenses like Texas Tech, Oregon's pretty air happy, USC, you don't need solid ground game, but the Raiders don't have a passing game. And when you don't have your top 4 running backs, that's just sucks to suck.
Yeah, Jake, it really does. And Big Ten football and Raider football is really centered around the run game. Hand off to Trevor here.
A good run by Trevor. And the good thing is, I believe, Steven, Trevor Williams is a sophomore. Right?
He is indeed.
So he'll be around to develop into probably a very solid running back. The last time we had a sophomore running back get consistent playing time was Jordan Jungers, and we all know how that turned out. Jordan was one of the best runners in recent memory at Regis.
And looks like Chuk Obana was on that track until he got hurt this season, Jake. So next couple of years, Raider fans, keep tuning in. We got some exciting football.
John Schmidt in motion. It's going to be a handoff again to Schmidt to the outside, and another successful run. He's got some open field across the 45 at about the 40-yard line. Nice run by John Schmidt. And there's a flag on the field. No.
Very late laundry there, Jake. Very late. I imagine this has to be a personal foul. We'll see what the call is.
This would be devastating, Steven, for the Raiders.
Wow. Why do you have to hold that far downfield? It wasn't even near the run.
When you have a team that really doesn't have that many skill players and really doesn't have that great of an offensive system, you can't make penalties that negate your biggest yardage gains of the night, and that's what just happened. So, you look and analyze why Regis has struggled this year, and it's plays like that.
And, Jake, that penalty actually brings it back to the original line of scrimmage, so it'll just be a redo for the Raiders. But a redo.
Really unfortunate to commit a penalty so late. John Schmidt in motion again. And this time it's going to be a handoff to Trevor Williams, who has enough for the first down. Still about 15 yards short of where that last play would have taken the Raiders. And an interesting thing, Steven, I bet if you asked Trevor if he would be the starting running back for Regis at the end of this year, he'd say you were crazy. But that's just the way the dominoes have fallen. Trevor Williams, really the last resort for the Regis. I don't know who they have other than Trevor.
I don't think they have anybody, Jake. Normally you don't have to think past a 5th-string running back. You could throw John Schmidt in there, maybe?
We might have to have you suit up, Steven.
I'll do it, Jake. Sign me up.
Hand off to Schmidt again on the outside, and Schmidt does another good job finding yardage. Mount Vista's going to have to try to figure out something on defense to cover that outside handoff that Schmidt, pretty much that's the only run he ever does.
And Jake, the interesting thing is that opens up so many opportunities and fakes, but the Mountain Vista linebacking core is designed to be a run-stopping linebacking core. So really interesting that they can't get a hold on that. And Jalen Williams still on the ground from what I can see, Jake. This is very dangerous.
Regis will have the ball on the Vista 43, 1st and 10. Hotaling receiving some calls from the sideline. Again, Regis Jesuit down 21-14. 8:11 to go in the third quarter. Hotaling sends A.J. Shaw in motion. He's going to hand it off to Trevor Williams, who finds some space along the right side, gets outside containment, down the sideline for a first down. Trevor Williams, a gain of over 20 yards.
Jake, I think Trevor might be able to hear us questioning him and giving and encouraging him on because he is really lifting this Raider team that seems to be down and out to new heights. And really great job by Trevor tonight.
I don't believe what I just saw. And not in the miracle way.
You've got to be kidding me. Is that holding, Jake?
You know, I mean, I try to stay optimistic, but that's absurd. And I don't know how you get through to this team, to these coaches, that when you do that, you are just, it's not even shooting yourself in the foot. It's shooting yourself in probably the chest. But
Jake, that if you take the yards gained and take them away and then add the yards lost onto that, that is a 98-yard swing, which is an entire length of the field, Jake. The Raiders just shot themselves for 98 yards on those two plays. You can't do that. That is inexcusable.
Unbelievable, Steven. Schmidt in motion, and it's going to be a handoff to Schmidt again, and finally. I mean, what kind of play calling is that? You run it twice successfully, and then you do it, like, again right after? I just don't understand that at all. Of course they're going to figure it out. Like, it's like they think Mountain Vista's never going to solve outside run. You don't do it right away. Unbelievable, and another 5 yards lost.
Jake, you sound a little angry, if I may interject. And while Jake vents his anger in healthy ways, I'll be your play-by-play. Matt Hoteling under center. Drops back. Throws across. Robert Orm not able to catch.
Again, sorry, folks. I contain my emotions. I mean, it's not anger. It's just like pity. I pity these fans. I pity the players. It's really unfortunate. How many yards have we just given up in the last minute? 50?
With that penalty, that brings us to 100 and something if you include those two big plays.
You don't even need to be smart to realize that that's bad. I formation, Hotaling dropping back. He's going to throw deep on the sideline. Who is he throwing to? Who is he throwing to? It's like a punt. The closest people to that ball were the Mountain Vista safeties. So, like, it's like Hotaling's just throwing it up, hoping for a miracle, and I'm at a loss for words. This team has not improved since week 1.
I would love to disagree with you, Jake, but after this last series, I have to say the exact same thing.
Here's Sebastian's punt. This is a good snap this time. Kind of a low punt from Sebastian, and it'll actually bounce backwards. So special teams really not even super strong. I'm trying to find something that we can say Regis has done a great job of this year and really not thinking of anything.
In the past few weeks, it's been discipline, but after the 10 penalties tonight, you can't say that.
Yeah. Not passing. Running's been all right, so I guess maybe running game, but the defense just got gashed by Rubley. The defense really needs to step up big here.
Just the secondary, Jake.
3 wide receivers, so Telling's going to hand it off to Tanner Smith, who gets taken down in the backfield. So good first stop by the Raiders.
There's my man, Eddie, breaking through the line, getting into the backfield. That's what you need, a defensive spark, Jake. A turnover or a big stop here can work wonders for the Raiders because they are still within striking distance. I know the way it sounds might not sound like they are, but they really are. So
6:40 to go now in the third quarter. And Mountain Vista will send 3 wide receivers to the line. Halfback in the backfield. Rubley dropping back. He's looking quick to the right. And only a couple yards, so a good job by the Raider corners to react to the quick curl.
definitely. Think if you're the Raiders, Jake, you want to get maybe another DB out there for your linebackers just because your secondary is kind of weak. Looks like the offense having their own separate meeting, trying to get themselves psyched up. I honestly think we need to take a risk with Zach Heath today. I don't think Hotelling's game can be excusable at this point, Jake.
Defense wins championships only if the offense scores sometimes. Rubley's going to throw over the middle of the field, and it's almost intercepted. Hand on it is, I believe that was
J.J. Kilgore.
number 11, J.J. Kilgore, my man, the baseball player, forcing a punt for Mountain Vista.
So, bright spot in a long line of darkness for that Raider defense after that first drive. But overall, I'd give him a B- for the game.
That's not acceptable at Regis. B-. And here's the punt by Brandon Kearney. It'll be fielded by Alex, who a nice punt by Kearney. Alex is going to pick it up on the hop and goes out of bounds at about the 30-yard line. So that is a 50-yard punt. Nice job by Brandon Kearney to pin the Raiders. Big switch in field position.
Definitely, and Mountain Vista special teams, although not touted, has performed here in the clutch today, Jake. Oh, it kills me to see Zach Heath sitting on the sideline in his hat just watching this game float away as the Raiders jog back onto the field. It is...
Why do you think Matt Hotelling keeps coming out?
I don't know, Jake. Coach Nolan has such favor with his... He has such faith in areas he shouldn't and such little faith in areas he should.
Hotelling's going to scramble out to the left side, and he's going to take it, and another flag.
Face mask, definitely all the way. I watched that one on Hotelling's run. That's a face mask.
Well, that's something positive, Steven. So we'll wait to see what this official call is, and it is indeed a face mask against Mountain Vista. So finally a penalty against Mountain Vista. Mountain Vista, Steven, really has done a great job being disciplined.
Now, Jake, let's see if the Raiders can take that penalty and turn it into a first down. That's the next step.
You know, Steven, Regis really doesn't have that complex of an offense. And what's so sad is to see all these delay of game penalties and taking so long to get to the line of scrimmage, because I think we have maybe, 15 plays?
I'd go on the upside of 20. We just don't use 5 of them.
Well, that's what I mean, Steven. Like, the plays that we routinely use.
I'd say 5 of them.
Screaming.
Maybe 6. Screaming Falcon and Eagle are the only 2 pass plays we ever run.
Run to Schmidt, inside run, outside run. That's it.
Yeah, 4 or 5 plays.
So there's a stoppage of play by the officials, and not sure what that was about. Matt Hotelling coming up to the line again, 2 receivers on the right. Mountain Vista has 9 people in the box, and it's going to be a handoff to Schmidt, and he somehow finds a lane. The Regis sideline asking for a late hit, none, and that'll be a first down by Schmidt, really. I will ask Nolan to not test his luck, though. Don't run the play again, because I'm amazed, really, Steven, that play's worked as well as it has for the Raiders tonight.
And, Jake, I think the only reason it has is because the Raiders have mixed up a lot of their plays with fake handoffs to Schmidt, followed by an inside run. Jalen Williams still sitting on the bench. His leg now up. His cleat still on, Jake, but you really don't like to see players sitting on the bench like that.
2 receivers on the right side. Shaw moving. Handoff to Trevor Williams. Trevor trying to bounce outside. Manages to somehow find like 5 yards. Nice job, Trevor.
I'm getting a little excited, Jake. Raiders are stringing together a couple of good plays, so.
And it'll be 2nd down and 6 for Regis Jesuit. 5:25 to go in the 3rd quarter. Again, down 14-21. 2 receivers, I formation, Hotelling, handoff to Trevor. Trevor finds his way for a 1st down, trying to get past the secondary. Inside the 30 at the 25. 1st down, Raiders.
Great run by Trevor there, Jake. Kind of dragged his way and just worked his way through those first 7, and then off to the races he was. So Trevor and John Schmidt, the running game for Regis, really a bright spot, I think we can say, in this game. They really haven't had anything poor.
I think Trevor Williams makes a very strong argument that he is better than his brother. And I know that might not be something that Jalen wants to hear, but the way Trevor makes his cuts and just powers through tackles, he's a very compelling argument. Hotelling now, I formation, 1st and 10 from the 25. He's going to hand it off to Trevor once again, who spins, pressing the old B button on the Xbox for a 1st down or very close to it. Again, Steven, very impressive.
And Jake, I'm really excited to see what the Raiders do next year when they will have 2 healthy senior running backs in Jalen and Grant Neal and 2 healthy junior running backs in Chukuma and Trevor, and all very capable at the game-playing varsity level, as we've seen.
Very interesting next year to think of what the quarterback situation will be. And in the meantime, an unsportsmanlike conduct personal foul on Mountain Vista will move the ball half the distance to the goal. Regis Jesuit now with a great opportunity puts some points on the board. Ball is on the 9-yard line, 1st down and goal. 4:30 to go in the 3rd quarter. Regis Jesuit, I formation. Alex Mitchell, the lone receiver, setting up camp on the right side. Hotelling, handoff to Trevor. Trevor moving his way close to the 5-yard line, so looks to be 2nd and 4.
Great running by Trevor, Jake, and I think, honestly, I say you try your luck here. I think you try an outside run to John Schmidt here and just hope he can cut it in. I mean, I know Trevor's running good and all, but I think you can catch him off guard here with that, or at least fake it and then hand it to
and
Trevor.
Steven, I'd say the one flaw with that problem is that John Schmidt is on the sideline getting tended to by the trainer.
I'm sad now, Jake. I'm sad.
Hotelling, handoff up the middle, diving for the end zone is, I believe, Trevor Williams, and he does not come up, so it'll be 3rd down and goal from either the 1 or the 2-yard line. 3rd down from the 2. Well, Steven, we know that a run's coming here. Possibly an outside run to Alex Mitchell would work. I formation. Hotelling. He's going to hand it up the middle, and that's a touchdown, Regis. The Raiders somehow pull off an offensive drive despite shooting themselves in the foot multiple times, and the Raiders are an extra point away from tying this game up.
Jake, another very long drive there for the Raiders, that one extending over 6 minutes. So Jalen Williams clearly limping, Jake, as we can see. He will not be returning to this ball game, I do not believe. So that leaves us with Trevor and whatever else Coach Nolan can find on the sideline, who happens to play the position of running back. But I think Trevor's doing a good job so far, Jake.
So with 3:15 left in the 3rd quarter, the Raiders really coming up big on that last drive. The extra point will tie it here. Very big extra point. I don't think Regis has actually missed an extra point this year.
This would be the team to get it, though, Jake. Number 5 for the Golden Eagles, Tanner Harrison, always back in the backfield. Watch for him. He comes off the right side.
So here is the kick attempt. High kick. Vince's delivers an extra point. That's good. So we are tied 21-21 with 3:15 to go in the third quarter. We're going to take a quick break on RJ Live and pick back up for the kickoff. And welcome back, folks. For the kickoff here, Regis Jesuit just ties the game against Mountain Vista, 21 all. And kicking off is Vince Saban. Vince for the low kick that will not go out of bounds, fielded by Dylan Formby. He'll take it to about the 20-yard line. And Steven, kind of unbelievable to think that this game is tied, considering I feel Mountain Vista has really outplayed Regis.
You know, Jake, you say that, and we look at it, and if you compare the second half, they've outplayed them. But I think Mountain Vista has just left a lot of effort on the sidelines. You don't see them playing as spirited or efforted football, and it looks like they still think they can come out and just win this in coasting. And I think that's where the mistake has been made for them, because they seem to be in coasting mode, Jake, and I think that's why it's still tied.
Rubley lining up in an I formation, 2 receivers to the left. Regis Jesuit with 5 men up front, 2 linebackers immediately behind. And it's going to be a handoff to Tanner Smith, who fights for maybe 1 or 2 yards. Second down and 9. Really, Steven, interesting thing. We haven't seen Ryan Rubley run at all, and he's heralded as a great dual-threat quarterback. We've really only seen his arm.
Yeah, and we've been talking about that all game, Jake. I think they might be concerned because Raiders known to be a hard-hitting, finish-the-tackle football team, and they don't want to get him hurt in a game that really doesn't matter as they've almost secured up a playoff spot.
I formation. Rubley looking deep. Now he's going to look to run, and he's going to try to get to the sideline. And he does have good speed. Managed to get a couple yards on that, but it'll still be 3rd and long. Nice job by the coverage unit of the Raiders to prevent Rubley from finding anything downfield.
Definitely, Jake. And Antonio Broadus is a fast kid. Rubley able to get away from him there. And Rubley now has a rushing attempt for a yard. So really an effective runner tonight, Jake.
The dangerous thing about Rubley is if he finds open field, I think he's gone. He's very fast, and now Vista really hurrying to the line. We're going to see what they do here. Possibly trying to get the Raiders secondary out of whack, and Rubley's going to scramble out to the left, throw it to the sidelines, and it is caught. A great pass by Ryan Rubley to Rocco Palumbo. Steven, you may not like his throwing motion, but that was delivered on the money.
That was delivered great, Jake, and from what I've observed, he does kind of have an awkward Taylor Martinez-like kink in his throwing motion. He likes to kind of turn his body at an awkward angle from what I've noticed. I don't know what you've seen. But definitely, I have no fact-founded criticisms because he's been playing so well.
2:10 to go in the third quarter. I almost saw a flinch there on the right side of the line, but it's not called. And Rubley will look over the middle on the crossing route. Oh, look how great that works. Complete to number 23, Jeremy Ansa, another friend of mine from middle school. But, I mean, it's even these crosses are really effective, and I really think Nolan and McPhee could learn something from this.
And you can see Declan Brown disappointed there. He had his arms around the ball carrier and just wasn't able to bring him down. You could see him after the play visibly disappointed, so allowed him to pick up a couple downs. Raiders need a turnover here, Jake. That's simply put.
3 wide receivers for Rubley, who is lining up on the Regis Jesuit 35, and it's a handoff to Smith, it looks like. Smith gets good yardage. It'll be 2nd down and 6. We're now at 1:45 to go. But, Steven, how would you say the Raider line has played today?
Defensive line, I think they've been playing as well as they can. Golden Eagles have a great offensive line, but they've still mixed stuff up. Offensive line, roller coaster as usual.
I agree. Really, Tanner Smith, the Mount Vista running back, has been limited. And there's a great throw. That's Ryan Rubley to number 1. I believe that was number 1, wasn't it?
No, that was Rocco Palumbo again.
I agree. Rocco Palumbo, number 7, their star wide receiver, really holding on to that after getting a hit delivered to him.
Indeed. And Raiders need something here, Jake. They can't just let Mount Vista walk all over them.
1:05 to go in the third quarter. 3 wide receivers. Rubley going to hand it off to Smith. And Smith gets a decent gain of maybe a couple. But I will say, the game is on Rubley's shoulders. The Regis line and linebackers have done a great job of limiting the running game for Mount Vista. Really, the only damage Mount Vista has been inflicting is through the air.
Unfortunately, Jake, that air damage that's coming in is heavy and it's effective and it's really destroying the Raiders, who have a poor secondary to begin with.
2nd down and 7 for the Golden Eagles. 2 wide receivers right. And Rubley is looking right now, looking left. Now he's trying to find a room to run. And here we go, Ryan Rubley trying to make some stuff happen. He'll finally get dragged out of bounds, but Rubley really doing a great job staying on his feet and making sure he didn't get sacked for a loss. We'll see where he's marked.
Definitely. And Ryan Rubley, I think why we've seen he doesn't run too much is he kind of has a Tim Tebow mindset, Jake, except for throwing Tim Tebow, where he keeps the ball in throwing as long as he can. But once that ball is tucked, it is tucked, and it is not coming back out.
3rd down and 2 for the Golden Eagles. 7 seconds left. Mount Vista in an eye. And it's giving a handoff to Tanner Smith. Smith looks to have the first down. And that'll be the end of the third quarter. Oh, wait. No, there's 1 second on the clock. So that is a Mount Vista first down, and that will be the end of the third quarter. At the end of 3, we're tied 21-21 at Luke Kellogg Stadium. Join us for our exciting finish after this break. And welcome back, folks, for our exciting fourth quarter. Ball is on the 9-yard line, 1st and goal for Mountain Vista. Rubley has 2 receivers to his left, 1 to his right. He's going to pass, dropping back. He's looking around. He's going to go to the right side and throw it out the back of the end zone. Smart decision by Rubley to safely get rid of the ball after he was outside the pocket. So Mountain Vista will start over on 2nd down.
And, Jake, I was talking to some of our other press box buddies up here during the break, and all of us surprised that it's tied. But I think my prediction is Mount Vista scores here pretty quickly. I'm going to give them that. And then Regis goes on a drive that takes up the entire rest of the quarter, and we hit overtime. That's my prediction.
I will give you $5 if that happens.
Yay.
2nd down and 9. Rubley going to draw up the middle to Smith. Good call, and that will get Mountain Vista very close to the goal line. Ball looks to now be on the 3-yard line. 3rd down and goal from the 3.
Jake, I imagine here we'll see a Rubley rollout run, so he has the option to run for a touchdown, or he also has the option to pass with his receivers. I don't think we'll see a run here because Regis has managed to hold their running game to a pretty contained. Yeah, they've contained it.
Really, Steven, this is probably the biggest play so far, and now it's going to be handoff to Smith, and he's very close to the end zone. He's in the end zone. Tanner Smith from 3 yards out into the end zone. Golden Eagle touchdown. It's now 27-21. Mountain Vista.
So, if you're the Raiders, Jake, this next drive, you don't want it to take too long. I know my prediction was they'd take a very long drive, but because you're in time pressure and Mountain Vista has a great throwing offense, you can't let this drive take too long and run yourself down on clock.
Here is the extra point by Michael Klein. Good snap. Klein's kick is up, and it's through the uprights. So 28-21. 11:05 to go. Steven, I know that it's going to be uncomfortable, but Regis really needs to get some effective passes on this drive and not make any stupid penalties.
And, Jake, I don't know about the passing situation. They do have a great running game. If Trevor can keep up what he's been doing, I don't think they'll need passing this drive. They will need it next drive, but the penalties is very key. They need to stay disciplined, like we've seen in the past weeks. I mean, since the Mullen game, they have committed less penalties than they have tonight. And that's been 3 games.
If I were to compare this Regis offense to a team, I'd say Michigan State, just because the quarterback is pretty unproven, young, and the team really struggles to score.
Well, Jake, if you say that, I'm expecting a national championship.
You just lost to Iowa in overtime.
You don't need to bring that up.
Klein's kick is not very long at all this time, and it will bounce out of bounds. Michael Klein, that's his second kick out of bounds. Really odd to see because I think of him as a decent kicker.
Jake, very dangerous there. Mountain Vista player sliding and recovering the ball about 2 yards out of bounds, but note that if he would have gotten there on time, that would have been a live ball, Mountain Vista ball.
Right, the infamous rule, as long as the ball goes 10 yards, the kicking team can recover it at the spot of the ball. But as it stands, the Raiders get good field position to start this drive from the 35-yard line. Hoteling under center, 2 receivers left. Shaw in motion now. Hotelling's going to hand it off to Jalen Williams, who makes some men move. Trevor Williams, has 13 yards and a Regis Jesuit first down.
See, Jake, I don't think you really need passing when you run like that. I think this is where you bring John Schmidt in and try it again. Golden Eagles might have forgotten about that play where they bring John Schmidt in motion from the outside. Doesn't look like they will do that, but
I don't think John Schmidt is in right now. And in an I formation, hand off to Jalen. Nice job. Trevor. I keep confusing the brothers. Trevor stepping over an initial tackler. Takes it to about the 45-yard line of Mount Vista. 2nd down and 3 now.
Trevor's looking great, Jake. I think you run it to him again here and just try to demoralize the Eagles by saying if we want to run it for a first down, we will. So I think you have to run it with him here.
10-12 to go in the final quarter. Hoteling, handoff to Trevor. Trevor stopped after a gain of about a yard, so 3rd down and 2. The problem, Stephen, I think, with this just constant rushing attack is if you don't get this 3rd down, you're pretty much relying that you won't get stopped because if you turn the ball, if Mount Vista gets the ball again and scores, this thing's done.
Well, Jake, if you look at the territory, we're on that awkward edge. You aren't in 4-down territory. You aren't really in punt territory. So this is definitely, with the score and the situation, could be 2-down football.
Hotelling's going to line up under center. Trevor Williams behind him. Hand off to Schmidt. Schmidt trying to make the outside, and it fails. So, interesting decision there on short yardage to go for the long developing handoff. The result is a loss of 2 yards, 4th down and 5. So, really, I disagree with that play call fundamentally.
I don't know, Jake. I think you have to go for it here, just given the situation.
4th down and 5, and the Raiders are going to go for it. 4 wide receivers. He's going to roll out to the left side. Hotelling looking down the field, and he's going to throw it up, and he just throws it out of bounds. Hotelling just completely overthrows his man. The pass falls incomplete, and the Raiders have just turned it over on downs.
Jake, they ran eagle there, and he was looking for that comeback route to DeJour Elliott. So he was on autopilot, Jake. That's exactly what he was. He ran out to the side and he looked for the throw to DeJour Elliott, didn't even look around, didn't make a decision for himself or even look. And that's why the Golden Eagles have the ball.
One of the biggest aspects of football that makes it different than other sports is how important the quarterback is, and right now Regis has some big problems. Rubley throws incomplete over the middle. Some late talking between that's number 44 of the Raiders. Declan Brown. Declan is a junior, I believe. Yeah. So the problem, if you don't have a good quarterback, is it extremely limits what you're able to run on offense. More than any other sport, really. I don't think there's any sport in which one position is so crucial.
Indeed, Jake. I can't really think of any.
Shortstop in baseball, still, you can live without an all-star shortstop. And Rubley will hand it off up the middle to Tanner Smith for a medium gain. We'll see if Mountain Vista plays conservative here and just tries to chew some clock, because we all know how long the Raider offense takes to function. Nolan really getting on his knee and speaking directly and solely to Matt Hotelling, motivating him. You know, you got to wonder how much pressure's on that kid.
Definitely. I think you need to put Zach Heath in. I don't think you need to worry about the psyche of Matt Hotelling in future weeks. You need Zach Heath. And I was thinking, Jake, a bowler in cricket. That has about the same significance.
Rubley's going to try to run. He'll get stopped. He gets stopped, tripped up. I'm not sure who it was, but very big because he had open space in front of him. Would have been an easy 1st down and more. 4th down and 3. False start on Mountain Vista. So that's actually good for Mountain Vista.
Yeah. If you're the Raiders, can you decline that?
If it happened before the snap, you're not allowed to decline it. Nope. So, no, this looks like an legal procedure, so it looks like they won't. Interesting. I guess Nolan didn't trust Mountain Vista to punt, which is a fair idea.
That definitely is, Jake. I think I'd probably take the yards here, too. Nolan's got to trust his secondary. Taking out a rusher, Jake, and putting in a linebacker for that middle distance, which I like that call there.
7:30 to go in the final quarter. 3rd and 12. Here comes Rubley to the line. He's dropping back. There's a whistle.
44.
Timeout, Mountain Vista.
Okay, I thought 44 for the Raiders. Declan Brown jumped a little early there. He was acting as a lineman despite being a linebacker. So, big play here, Jake. Huge play here.
You got to make sure your corners know who they have covered. The last thing you want to do is have someone wide open. And honestly, in this, I'd be in favor of like a two deep zone maybe, or a 3 deep zone where you have everyone on a man, but you also have some people kind of in the middle of the field in case they try a crossing route.
And Jake, I really like that. I also think you need to combine that with I'm personally preferential to the 3-4 defense. So I think you rush Michael Gunther, Antonio Broadus, and Eddie Gonzalez, and you drop back into a 2-deep coverage, Jake. I think that's what they need.
Huge play here for the Raiders. Rubley dropping back. He's going to scramble out. He's looking deep down the field. He's got a man and just missed him to the left, it looked like. He had the right distance downfield, but misfired a little bit to the left. Good idea by Rubley, and Mountain Vista will now punt.
And Jake, looks like no one had the same idea as us. He rushed Broadus, Gunther, and Eddie Gonzalez and dropped back into a 2-deep. So, pretty standard football call there, and surprised. I'm actually surprised Mountain Vista didn't get that. I'm not going to lie.
I agree, Steven. I thought that had touchdown written all over it. And here's Kearney to punt. Ooh, almost blocked there. And a good coffin kick to pin the Raiders in their own red zone. So Regis has a very, very long field ahead of them. 7:05 to go in the fourth quarter, Steven. And the way we know how this Regis offense chews up clock, this could be the last time it sees the ball.
And, Jake, I know this game has been rough on our nerves and kind of killing us. Imagine how Zach Heath feels watching this from the sideline. He's just got to be devastated.
The worst part about sports is always thinking, what if? What if I was that bat there? What if I was quarterback here? What if, I was taking that penalty shot? All the questions that Zach Heath has to be dealing with if he was in the game at quarterback. Hand off to Schmidt. Again, Schmidt finds some success. A good run there.
Is that the 8th or 9th time they've run that?
I believe so, Steven. It's been pretty successful. And one thing I think is interesting about that play, about the handoff, is it becomes less and less effective the shorter the yardage to gain is. Because it's great on first down when Mountain Vista is kind of playing off the line. But when it gets close and when they're really stacking a lot of people up front, the play has been stopped for negative yardage. Hotaling, I formation. We'll see if he passes at all. In motion, Alex Mitchell. And it's going to be a fake handoff to Alex and a handoff to Trevor up the middle. And Trevor has enough for the first down over the 30-yard line.
Jake, Raiders looking really effective right now. They need to keep it moving. And just keep this clock running, I want to say. I think the Raiders' best chances are going to be in overtime.
6:12 to go. Hotaling, same formation, I formation. Again, a handoff to Trevor Williams, who gets maybe five yards, so a nice job by Trevor. 2nd and 5. Again, Regis not that fast lining up. They get their signals in from the field, from Zach Heath, actually, so 2nd and 5 from the Raiders' own 36-yard line. Same formation exactly again. I formation, lone receiver Mitchell to the left side. Alex now in motion. Snap, fake handoff to Alex. Up the middle, read brilliantly by the Vista line. They did not fall for the fake to Mitchell, and it will be 3rd down and 6.
Jake, what do you do here? Do you run or you throw? Keeping in mind that you have Trevor Williams and Matt Hotaling.
Steven, I wish I had an answer for you, but I just don't. I have no faith, absolutely no faith in the passing game. But this is way too long of yardage to try to run for. Schmidt in motion, and it's going to be a handoff to Schmidt. My goodness, it worked. And Schmidt's across the 50 into Vista territory, across the Eagle 45-yard line. I'm really shocked that Mountain Vista, the defense, as soon as you see John Schmidt in motion, how do you not assume that it's a handoff to him?
I don't know, Jake. And really, this is like straight out of the blind side where they're just running the same play over and over, except for the Regis Jesuit Raiders don't have like a Michael Orr to block. I don't know where this is coming from.
Schmidt really stepping up huge tonight. Handoff to Trevor. Trevor gets some good yards, more than a couple yards after contact. 2nd down and 7 The clock's starting to become an issue. We're now at 4:40 to go in the game.
I think with where the Raiders are on the field, Jake, this is about the perfect amount of time because if they can get to overtime and eliminate the issue of the clock, I feel like that's where they will thrive. And does it work like college or pro overtime, Jake?
It's actually a modification of college. Each team starts at the 10. So here's Schmidt in motion. Not going to hand it off to Schmidt. Hand off to Trevor, who gets stuffed immediately. So another third down and long awaiting Regis.
Definitely 2-down territory, Jake. So you do have the option of trying to run twice. If you're Mountain Vista, I'm looking on the field. I see John Schmidt. I would highlight him, Jake, if you're Mountain Vista. You need to put a man guarding John Schmidt.
Just put some players on the other side of the field. Schmidt and Mitchell lining up on the right side. Trips for the Raiders on the right. Hotaling scrambling out to the right. He gets met immediately. He avoids the initial defender, and then he gets sacked. That's a bummer.
You got to go for it, but what do you do on a 4th and 14?
Hotaling's arm is hurt, too. He's hurt.
Do we see Zach Heath?
Wow, what a place to enter the game. 4th and 18 for Heath.
It doesn't look like coaches take him off.
4th and 15. Matt's going to stay. They're going to have to burn a timeout soon because the team's taking a long time to line up. Alex doesn't know what's going on. Really awful communication, and now they're going to have to call a timeout. That's just not fair, though, for your wide receivers when they don't know what the route is.
I think if Coach Nolan, you got to check up on the arm of Hotaling. I know he was gripping it, and I know he wants to say he's okay, but with this place in the game, you have to have an accurate throwing quarterback. Doesn't look like Zach Heath still has his hat on, so it looks like it'll be up to Hotaling with a hurt arm and the jitters to try to deliver this pass. I'm assuming it's going to be a pass. I mean, a run here would be absurd.
4th down and 15. 2:55 to go in the game.
Do you know where the Raiders stand playoff-wise, Jake?
That's a good question, Steven. I think if you lose this game next weekend, almost becomes a must-win. If they lose next weekend at Highlands Ranch, that would drop the record to 3-6, and you'd either be not qualifying for the playoffs or you're going to play like Thunder Ridge first round. So, really, not looking good. And here come the Raiders on 4th down and 15. 2 receivers to the left, 1 right. The crowd is getting loud here. Vista has a lot of defenders waiting back. They're going to blitz one person. He's going to fade to the right side, and he just overthrows Schmidt. So, you can't win if you can't throw, and Regis can't throw. So, I really don't understand why they keep setting up Matt Hotaling to fail. That's just not fair for him. You see the dejection in his eyes. Why not put in Zach? It's just absolutely unbelievable to see the coaches just keep doing the same thing. You know, the definition of it just, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same result. So here comes Rubley and the Eagle offense. It's a pitch to Tanner Smith, and he's going to get almost a first down. A nice run by Smith.
If you're the Eagles, Jake, Regis has 1 timeout, 2:30 on the clock. Is this, with the first down here, can they run it out?
Very close, Steven. I think maybe 1 more first down, and that should be about it. I really want to go back to that 4th down play and question what the heck the team was thinking. Hotaling just got the ball and just threw it, like, without even looking at the receiver.
It was on autopilot, Jake, and we saw the exact same thing when he threw that one to DeJour Elliott on the previous drive. Matt Hotaling, I don't know if the coaches don't, from my point of view, the coaches don't trust him to think himself and look at it and say, this is a good decision. Nor, I mean, I don't know if he's proved himself to that point, but running on autopilot is not the way to run an offense.
1st and 10 for the Eagles, and the clock is now at 1:52. This looks to be the end of Regis's hopes of victory. Smith is going to run it on the right side, get maybe a couple yards, but there's a timeout, Regis. So
That's their last one. I believe.
really, you come in, you're at home, a great chance to beat a team that really struggles, a team that, coming in 3-4, lost to Stephen. This team got blown out by Douglas County, and then you just lose at home. Really, if you look at the trajectory of the team throughout the season, you can't think that it's going up. I mean, this was a very bad loss.
Jake, I know. I know we're coming back now because they had an opportunity to win. We say this was a bad loss. But we've really been dominated by a Mountain Vista team on cruise control. So
I think the worst part, Steven, is that this really should have been a win. And Mountain Vista coming in really struggling. I mean, Regis manhandled Douglas County just a couple of weeks ago, and Douglas County destroyed Mountain Vista. I think it was like a 30-point victory.
But then Mountain Vista beat Chaparral, who manhandled Regis. Who knows?
And they will tackle Tanner Smith. Regis had another timeout, and they just used it. So Rubley will be forced to go to the air here.
And Jake with 1:33. If you come back to it, the Raiders make a stop here and get the ball back. Who do you send it to take the snaps? Because you have to throw.
I feel like Nolan really insults Zach by never putting him in, and I really feel bad for Zach because it's almost like, you know what, no matter how bad Hoteling performs, he's still the best chance to win. And I think, how incredibly insulting is that if you're Zach Heath?
Well, I think Zach Heath really hurt himself when he came in for 2 plays earlier in the season, handed off one, and then threw an interception. But I think you have to send in Zach. I don't see how you could send in Matt here with a clean conscience.
Rubley's going to play action. He's looking deep down the field. He's going to try to make someone miss, and he's going to think about what to do. He stays in bounds, I believe, which was a smart decision. So the clock will continue to tick. We're at 1:15 to go. And yes, he does stay in bounds, so it'll be 4th down. And I would imagine Mountain Vista would punt.
I can't see him going for it. So
it looks like Mountain Vista is going to wait to either take a delay game and then punt with some space or call a timeout. The team's not even making an effort to line up. Okay, so it is a delay game. The Mountain Vista wants some more space to punt. Smart penalty. Brendan Kearney's really had a great game punting, so we'll see if he can pin the Raiders deep in their own territory. The student section, Stevens, really dwindled. I'd also like to say I'm disappointed in the students at Regis for really coming out with a weak turnout. You really can't blame the weather tonight.
And Jake, I don't think they realized what a must-win game this was for the Raiders.
Kearney
almost blocked.
Yeah, Mountain Vista does like a quick punt. Like they ran out everybody immediately, and Regis punt returners were running on the field as the ball was being snapped.
Great return by Mitchell there, giving his team a chance, getting out to about the 25 after catching it around the 10.
So Matt Hoteling's still out there.
I don't know, Jake. He's going to have to prove himself big here.
31 seconds left. Regis has no timeouts. Hoteling. He's going to run, and he's going to get a first down. So how come he never does that, or the offense never does that when it's not late in the game?
I don't know, Jake. Great run there to get out of bounds. Raiders 24 seconds. I think I don't know if Hotelling has the arm strength to get to the end zone on a Hail Mary, but
No, he doesn't. Hoteling 3 wide receivers. He's going to drop back, and he's going to scroll out to the left, try to make a man miss. And that's absolutely just awful. Like, he doesn't get the ball away, and now they're going to have to spike it. But how do you keep your morale up if you're on the Raiders offense? Your quarterback is completely ineffective. He doesn't throw the ball away when he can. Takes a sack. Doesn't throw it away. I mean, you're late in the game. You got to throw it away quickly. But we digress. I guess the worst part is we're in this situation and we have no chance to win.
Yeah, I mean, how often do you actually see a hook and ladder work? And that's what they're going to have to work here. So we'll see what the Raiders can do with 5 seconds left.
5 seconds left. Hotelling under center. He's going to drop back, and he's going to get sacked and fumble. An appropriate end to what's been probably one of the ugliest games I've ever seen Regis Jesuit play. Amazing that the score is 21-28. Nolan barking at his team. I really don't know who he can yell at. The team was soundly outcoached and outplayed tonight in almost every aspect. I'm very angry and really mad at the team for playing so bad.
Players of the game, Jake.
Oh, John Schmidt for sure for Regis. The only Regis player other than Trevor, but John Schmidt played better than he usually does, so I'm going to give it to Trevor. I'm going to give it to John. On defense, really no one. Maybe J.J. Kilgore for a couple good plays, but for Mountain Vista, I have to give it to Brandon Kearney for coming up huge, as well as Rocco Palumbo. I think I'm going to give it to Rocco over Rubely, who really didn't show us anything on the ground, but unbelievable job by Rocco Palumbo to catch some of these balls. Great job.
And for me, Jake, I got to go with Trevor the Tow Truck Williams for the Raiders offense. Absolutely great playing there. That's all I'm giving to Regis tonight. And then for Mountain Vista, I think I've got to give it to Tanner Harrison for the Eagles. He had some great defensive plays on the Matt Hotelling throws that were catchable. And he just played well. He was always in the backfield making the kicker nervous. And he played great on special teams. So going to give that to Tanner Harrison.
So Regis Jesuit drops to 3-5 now in what's been a pretty awful season to watch. I think that, if anything, Steven, the scoreboard tonight was not the story. This, the way the game felt, it was like it was 35-7. Mountain Vista thoroughly dominated control of the game. And the way the Regis offense works, you know that you have no chance to make a comeback. And maybe that's the worst part, Steven, is that just this team doesn't have comeback potential. And when you get down late in the game, it's almost impossible to win with this offense.
And, yeah, Jake, I don't really have anything good to say about the Raiders. After the first half, I had plenty to say. They're playing solid football, but as we've seen in the past with the Raiders, and it still continues, they can't close.
So all around, Regis drops to 3-5. Join us next Friday for our final Continental League showdown between Regis Jesuit and Highlands Ranch. And I never thought I'd say this, but tomorrow, next Friday, might be an elimination game for the Raiders. If they don't win, they might not qualify for the playoffs. And it'll be here at Luke Kellogg Stadium at 7. So senior night for the Raiders. On behalf of Tommy Rain, Steven Snyder, and Jorge, our cameraman, I'd like to thank all you guys for listening. I'm Jake Leonard. We'll see you guys next Friday.